Yeah. So before we proceed, so let me introduce myself. So yeah, so myself Ganesh. So I have total 10 plus years of experience into the AI and the backend engineering. So I do work on the few of the technologies which are running currently, like generative AI, data science and ML, Azure, and AWS. And earlier I do work with the Microsoft Docker, Kubernetes, and especially with the Java. I do have the various tech stack experience. So, but this particular class where I will be teaching about the GenAI demo. So currently I'm running two batches. One is data science, which is also we call it as ML and AI, and the second batch is generative AI. So learning any one of them, it will take nearly 2 to 3 months of time. So if you take sequentially the courses, the first one is AI and ML, the second one is generative AI. So both will take like 2.5 months, 5 months total. So if you wanted to take both of them, if you want to take only generative AI, so it would take around 2.5 months. So total around 60 to 70 hours approximately. I hope you're able to see my screen, right? Just give a thumbs up if you cannot see the screen. Yeah, yeah, its picture is there, right? See screen you can able to see. That's what I'm asking. Yeah, yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I have worked on the retail sector and telecom sector. Currently, I'm working for the retail company. Previously, I do have the IoT and the telecom sector experience. So let me give brief by starting about the what is an AI. So can anybody tell me the word AI definition? So just like a normal talk, normal chit chatting. So this demo, we will go with the flow. We'll not go with any presentations or something. So of course I do have it, but we'll go with the flow to clear your doubts and what is an AI. So what I will be teaching. So in the direction I will be taking it. Yeah, mechanical man. Can you a little bit more elaborate? The artificial mind you're talking. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Right. Right. So deep learning. Yeah. Yes. So yeah. So yeah, that's good. That's good. Pretty much you covered a lot of things. So almost that is correct. Right. Yeah. So few of the people will think the AI is automation, so which is really not. So automation you can do, but automation is not an AI. Automation still you can achieve by writing some programming, right? Most of you may be the already programmers. Some of you already they're very beginning to the programmers, right? Right. So Yes. So this and all, I'm not going to walk through. Why? Because you guys joined for generative AI. So I will give you brief about what is an AI. So what will be covered in the generative AI or ML So the both courses which I offer. So first thing is you can use this and all is very simple. So where you can see in what industry you can use AI and what is its purpose. These are all simply use cases. So coming back here, so at the end, data is matters. Some of your data engineering, some of your software engineering background, right? So everybody deals with the data, which is a, so I hope you're able to see my presentation. Yeah, yeah, thank you. So data is the fundamental thing. So without data, none of the sector can work. So especially when it comes to the data science or the artificial intelligence or generative AI, so data is like to understanding a pattern. So for example, to make it more understandable, so just born baby is there. Okay, so just born baby is there. So baby born without any intelligence, it doesn't have any cognitive power. So as the baby ages, the baby will learn something. So how the baby will learn? From the teachers, from the parents, whoever teach them, right? So tell me, if you wanted to teach the baby which is a cat and which is a dog, how do you teach it? In generally, I'm asking. Yeah, right. Uh, you're right. Yeah. So maybe the pictures really makes sense. So what picture or how many pictures you will show? So basically you will show, suppose if you wanted to make a differentiation between the cat and dog, okay? So you will show 10 images, let us say. 10 images of the cat, 10 images of the dog. We'll ask the baby too. So remember, okay, you show the picture and you will say, okay, this is a cat. So second is the cat, this is a dog, and this is the dog. So what is happening inside the brain of a baby? Can anybody tell what is going to happen when you show the picture? Hmm, right. Hmm. Yeah, maybe you can even store it in memory. Why you even need the support in case of a AI? So we are making the brain understand, right? So you can simply write a program which you can store your name, which you can store anything, right? It can remember in general, but your program can't able to figure it out when the image was given. So what you're talking about is the memory. That is correct. So eventually memory will works. So inside the memory, child's memory or anybody's memory. So given the cat image, okay. So it's let us assume this is the cat. So perception of vision will be there because it's an image. It's an image. So what it will happen in the baby's brain? Okay, so you are showing me the cat images which are having some particular pattern. You're showing me dog images which are having specific patterns. For example, after showing the 10 images of the cat, baby's perception will vary like, okay, the kind of a cat is having a fur and the eyes are brown. The body is small. It is having the four legs. It is having a mustache. Okay, such kind of a thing, it will slowly feed into the baby's brain. What about if you show the dog? So dog also having four legs. It is also having a tail, and it is also having fur. The eyes may be different. The teeth may be different. The ears may be different. So this differentiation of the patterns. The first goal is to understand the pattern. Brain will always constantly look for the pattern without your involvement. So that's the reason cognitive power, ability, and also people will give their child some images to understand and to make the puzzles and all. Okay, so this is the pattern. So pattern feeding is necessary. So baby should be able to understand the pattern to understand. So let us say baby understood some pattern. Then you give the 11th image. If the baby able to predict 11th image, whether it is a cat or dog, suppose you have provided a cat image and asking the baby, which is this? And the baby told you it's a cat. That means your training was done properly. This process for the first 10 images, we have done the training of the pattern. The 11th image, we are doing the testing. If the baby is not able to figure it out, so though you shown the cat image, but the baby said it's a dog, that means there is some mistake in the training. Baby was not able to capture the patterns. There could be a lot of reasons. Maybe your images, you provided, not covering a lot of concepts. Maybe the test image, 11th one, which is under the table, maybe behind the curtain. Maybe it is a pug, sorry, which is not even having the typical dog features. Maybe the cat image is like block image. The cats are different kinds of cats are possible, right? So maybe the baby has remembered the color because so many colors of the cats and dogs are possible. Color may not be the good features. So what and all I'm calling is the features. The patterns like eyes and the nose and the mustache and the body and the fur. So these are all called features. If you are able to extract the features appropriately, there is a high chance your model can learn properly. This is a baby example. Okay. So similarly, so what and all required to understand this pattern? That is all about the algorithms. In the machine learning, we have set of algorithms to understand this pattern: linear regression, logistic regression, SVM, support vector machines, random forest, boosting, and decision trees. In the boosting, we have three boostings. So, okay, some set of algorithms are there to understand this pattern. In the deep learning, we do have neural network. So the example which I have given you is almost equal to neural network. So what is a neural network? We have a neuron in our brain. Can we replicate a neuron into the artificial, which we call it as the artificial neuron? So that is in terms of the technical concept, we call it as perceptron, which is similar to the neuron from the brain. So we have to replicate this neuron, then we can use it in the neural network. So neural network is nothing but each neuron will be there. It has to connect with the corresponding neurons in a different layers. That is all about the neural network. So I'm not going in depth of that. Yeah. So coming back to this one. So I just give you the example of how the baby will understand the pattern. So yeah, coming back to the data. So how many types of data are possible in the real world? How many types of data is possible? So whatever you see, so how many types you have seen? Okay, structured data, unstructured data. Okay, that is okay. And right, exactly. So text, audio, and video. And whatever the other person has said, like the structured and unstructured. First is tabular data. Okay, so which is having the structured as well as semi-structured. Okay, JSON and the Excel databases and the JSON format. So these are all you can consider like the tabular format where it is having the both. And next is text. Text is like whatever the language we speak, English, Hindi, Telugu. So all these languages are like text. And third one is images. So even if you make the images scroll 16 frames per second, it will become a video, right? So I will call it as image itself because video is consisting of images. So the person who is working on this tabular data, we call him as like, the predictive modeling, right? Or like you can call like most of the data scientist people. will work on this thing. Or we even call it as predictive modeling. Next is text. People are using text like the current tools like ChatGPT and Gemini, Claude. So many examples were there. Llama. People who build these tools or like deal with the text and break the text to generate the text. So we call them as NLP engineers, natural language processing engineers. Natural language processing engineers, right? The person who's working on the images. Okay, so image generation task or segmentation task or localization. So whatever the concept, we call them as a computer vision scientists. So this field in itself we call it as a computer vision. This is a computer vision theory. So these three kinds of roles are existing in a current market. And fourth one. Okay, so go back here. Yeah, I'll show you the tech stack required to become any one of the engineer. So, see, business analyst is a very simple use case. Probably most of you already know. They'll deal with the most of the time they deal with Excel and understanding the data of their company without using any fancy tools. Very simple visualizations, probably kind of Excel kind of a tools. Okay, so data analyst here they will little bit more advanced than business analyst. They use the Tableau, Power BI, SQL, sometimes Python, and they need to have a little bit of statistical analysis and all. So data engineers, some of you already data engineers. So probably they might be using building the pipelines. So why we need data engineers here? Go back here. So for everyone, data is required for software engineer, machine learning engineer, and anybody. If data engineers can't build the data pipeline, these people don't get the data. It's also one of the booming sector where the people have because for any kind of a sector you work for on the data scientist, machine learning, or like software engineering, such kind of a pipelines are really necessary to get the from the raw format to the structured format. That is the reason they build the pipeline. So SQL, NoSQL, ETL pipelines, Airflow, Spark, Big Data. So these are all frameworks which they use. So next two things. So which we will be more focusing on. So all the machine learning models which I have shown, and the one of the fundamental thing data scientists is required is statistics. So everything works on the statistics. So statistics, and the next is linear algebra, and next is calculus. These three mathematics is required. Sometimes algebra as well. And any one of the programming language sufficient, either Python or R. But earlier, back in 10 years or 15 years back, people needed to use R. But nowadays, because of the abundance of library, people are moving to Python. Data visualizations and the data modeling are part of the data science. Then, when you come back to ML engineer, the difference here is ML engineer. This guy has to know data science plus software engineering. The why he has to know both. One thing is he has to take the inputs from the data science or what model you had to build and what algorithm you had to use, how to do the training. And second thing is software engineering skills. How do you do the distributed training or scaling? Or like using the microservices, Docker, Kubernetes, all this stuff. And the deployment. The person has to know how to make a production ready models. This data science people, most of them not even knowing what the software engineering does. The person is suppose if you are from software engineering background and if you learn such kind of data science and even we call it as AI, sometimes I will use the words interchangeably, and you become you can apply directly for the ML engineer kind of a role. Right. So here few of the frameworks like PyTorch and TensorFlow, which are deep learning frameworks, will be involved. And yeah, so come back here. So what is the difference between the normal programming, and machine learning program. So before we going to the discussion about the generative AI, so some people might be having the doubt what is the generative AI, what is the data science, and what is normal AI. Okay, so here this diagram will make you feel comfortable. So this entire thing, whatever we discuss, is AI. So generative AI, the data science, and machine learning, everything part of the AI. It's a very big, broad circle. Okay, so the next, when you use the data science, which is very sub part of the AI, so data science doesn't require you to use the machine learning algorithms. They can use simple statistics to derive the conclusions. If you use the machine learning algorithm inside of it, so it becomes a ML kind of error. If you use the deep learning, so that's also part of the ML engineer itself. The generative AI, so which is becoming popular, I will tell you in the next slide. So when the generative AI has, when the generative AI concept has come. So before we jumping into generative AI concept, so let's see how this programming will work. What is the difference between traditional programming and the machine learning programming? So can you tell me what is this number? Just look at this data. A comma B is given. C is the output. A and B are both are input, and C is an output. Okay. So it's like an aptitude question. Take A comma B and some value was given here. So by understanding these inputs, can you figure out what will be the value here? Just take a couple of minutes. Okay, so what is happening inside your brain? So how you are trying to figure out the pattern? Hmm. Yeah, right. So you are doing some trial and error. So you're doing some trial and error. Yeah, right, right, right. Mm, mm, yes. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah, I agree with that. So anybody can figure out. So all right. So here, so that is great almost. Why? Because why? What is happening here is, so suppose you had to write a program. So how do you write? So it is a very simple function calling I'm using. Suppose this one is about figure out a pattern. I will call it as find function I provided. In the find function, I'm passing the A, comma B, and then, so for example, I would like to do the, suppose you found the pattern. You found the pattern from this A, comma B. Let us say this number is 13. Now you can able to figure it out. Why it's 13? The pattern here we have followed is 2a minus b plus 2. 2a minus b plus 2. You do it, you'll get the same result. 2 multiplied with 6 minus 1 is equal to minus 1 plus 2 is equal to 13. So 2 multiplied 2 minus 4 plus 2 is equal to 2. Right? So maybe if you figure it out for some more time, after 10 minutes, you may be finding this pattern. And you found it and written this pattern from the function. I know some of you not even knowing the Python, but just like it is a function, so which you're passing the a comma b as an input, and you are calculating what needs to be done, the pattern, and you found it. So this is a normal function anybody will develop in any Python. Here, what is happening? Here, I have put my own brain to find the pattern. In case of machine learning program, so what should be the input to this function? A comma b comma c. So actually here we are finding c, not exactly pattern. C, we are finding a comma b comma c. So here we're not only passing the input is the a comma b, but also passing the c as an output. Input and output both we have to find a feed it to the model, and it has to figure out the pattern, and it has to send us. Yeah. 2a minus b plus 2. This pattern has to be returned. Here, the value after the pattern, we got it. Right? So, in technical way, this is the one. The traditional computing, so you're passing the input, and this logic 2a minus b plus 2 was written by you as a human being, and we got the results as C. But in the machine learning, we pass the input and the desired output, in this case C, and the computer has to return the program. The program, in the sense, it's a pattern, the logic. So if this is the case, why we even have to write a program? So we had to make the computer to understand this pattern. That is what the training code we will write. So here, so this is part of the training. This is all part of the training where the input and output is present. This is part of the testing. If your training is proper, you will be able to answer this question. Right. So now, coming back to the generative AI. So this typically we call it a supervised learning, where the input and output was present. So in the machine learning concept, we call it a supervised learning. So what is the output here? It's a number. It's a number. You're trying to find a number. In the previous baby case, what was the thing? You had to predict either it is a cat or dog. It's not a number. It's a category. So when you're dealing with the categories, we call it as a classification modeling. Can you give an example for that? Whether you would like to give a loan to the banking people or not, suppose any situation you're running a banking sector, and you would like to predict the loan default case. Suppose this person is going to be getting on default or not. That yes or no question. If you are having high probability that this person is going to be getting default, you don't give the loan to him, or you will give with high interest rate. Or in telecom sector, churn prediction, whether this person is going to leave my network or not. If this person is going to leave, then I will attract him with particular offers and I will make him retain. So all those examples comes under the classification modeling. And when it is a number, we call it as a regression. In the regression, so output is a continuous variable. House price prediction, stock market prediction, weather prediction. This and all comes under the regression. Why? Because output is a number. Here output is a category. So next, coming back to the generative AI. So why this word popularly becoming more popular now? So in the 2017, Google has published a paper. You know this paper? Attention is all you need. Okay. This paper published in 2017, which really revolutionized the entire sector. The people, the way they look into the problems and the machine learning things and all changed. The reason is they introduced this architecture called transformer. Okay, this is a transformer architecture. This one completely changed the sector because so far we only know these two kind of a problems, regression and classification. And people never tried to generate any something new, like generating the text or generating of images. But here, using this particular transformer architecture, it is possible to generate a new text, which is not even there before. It's not just choosing from the multiple choice questions. It is equal to the answering the questions. So how it becoming popular because of the NLP. So NLP, when we're dealing with natural language like English or any kind of a local language. So what is the essence thing? You have to understand the context and semantic meaning of the text, the grammar. So everything really matters. See, the problem is earlier, so you were given a long paragraph. The paragraph is having maybe it was about the animals like panda. In the second paragraph, I use the word it. It eats bamboos. What do we mean by it here? It is having the structural dependency on the panda. It is nothing but it means panda, not just it. That is semantic meaning. And what is dependency? It is having the dependency on the pandas. Such kind of a dependency relationships and understand the grammar and this one parts of speech. So everything has been there in the NLP, but using this architecture, it took to the next level to make it aware the long-term context. What is the long-term context? Suppose you are given an entire book, you can feed it to the model like ChatGPT. So each model comes with its own context window. So context is how much of the data you can give at a time. That is what we call it as the context. So here the inputs are nothing but the tokens or words, so which will feed it as a question. Suppose you're building a question answering board. The question answering board, the input is a words. The output will be the complete answer. So most of the chat GPT we do the Q&A, right? Yeah, so this architecture we will be discussing in the classes and also here in encoder and decoder architecture is there. So what the GPT people have done around in 2018 or 19. So GPT-1 has been released for the programmers. If you are from the GitHub users and there has been the first version like GPT-1 was there where they have used the only decoder architecture, like only the right side portion they have taken, they built it. And the left side portion taken and the Google has built BERT. And a combination of both of them, they built like D5. There are different models for them. So GPT especially, so generative pre-trained transformer, it is especially only part of this transformer architecture, only the right side part. Right. So I'm not going to discuss this one architecture right now. This will be discussed in the class. So coming back to the generative AI. So currently the OpenAI is the top leader, right? So which is building such kind of a good models. And the primary thing is we need a data. How do you prepare a data to train such kind of a huge models, language models? It comes with a lot of money. So there are for the two reasons. First is okay, the human power is required to build the data. The second thing is, of course, you can even do the automation of this task, but really human intervention is compulsory required. So next is like GPU, computation power. How do you train these models? You need a GPU. Not we can't train it on the CPU. Either GPU or TPUs are required. So GPUs from the NVIDIA is more popular. You need nearly A100 kind of a machines. A100 machine with the 80 GB of graphic card VRAM. Suppose if you are gaming freak, you might be using one of the GPU. People usually use this one for the gaming and all. Yeah. So look at the price here. So generally, so NVIDIA A100 80 GB graphic card So this is not the real price. This is something server stored. Generally, this price will be close to the close to the 50 lakhs or something like that. Okay, so these models we can't afford. Even if you go with the H100 machine, which is a very big architecture, all these people like the ChatGPT and Gemini people are using H100 to train their machine, to train their algorithms. This comes with like more than a crore. So what we have to do, generally they have to have a tie-up with Azure or AWS. They will give out a rent. So Azures are having the good VMs comparing with the AWS. So if you ask me like which one to learn cloud, which cloud is better to learn generative AI, Azure is better. Why? Because they have the lot of investment into the OpenAI, and then they have the very good decent cloud comparing with the AWS where they're having their own architectures. NVIDIA's and all very difficult to get it from them. So Azure is somewhat better than the AWS in this particular thing. But service-wise, AWS is far better. But coming to the hardware, so better choose this thing. Right. Yeah. Even we do have the serverless also, serverless like Replicate, Together EA, NVIDIA Nemo, like hundreds are there as part of serverless. Right. So coming back to the course. Uh, yeah. Mm. They may have tie up with, no, the problem is, see, technically, to maintain a data center is not an easy. As part of even mid-based companies or startups, nobody will invest, and that comes with huge burden. Maintaining the data center, it's not just like you buy a server and keep it in your office and all right. So we don't know how many servers are required. If you're having too much budget, like in billions, you can go ahead. 99% of the companies, none of them will have such kind of a budget. They will go with always this AWS or Azure kind of a cloud based only. Even OpenAI, they're using the, yeah, of course, you can buy it. So technically, it's impossible to spend those many money, that much of money. Even OpenAI is using the Azure servers, Azure data centers. They themselves may be having it, but mostly they will be relying on the Azure. Okay, why? Because, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, right. So you have to make it support your company having directly some particular company. Again, so what kind of the vendors also the pricing and the availability of service matters. If I go with AWS, there is no 40 GB machine. What I will do then? You would like to spend more money for the 80 GB, not possible, right? So choosing of the vendor is very critical here. It's not like I do have the tie with AWS that I will only go with the AWS. You go, then you have to pay the huge money. The company, if they're having very strict rules, we have to currently in this market, right? We have to be open-minded to take any kind of a vendor because only aligning with particular vendor is not a good scenario because some of them are having advantages and disadvantages. So it's company's decision. But as part of you, like if you wanted to learn and all, that's what I'm talking. So people generally, nobody try to build the LLM. So people try to do the fine tuning. Nobody will build it from scratch. So that involves huge money. That is not even a sample money. And until unless you are the LLM generative AI LLM producer company like OpenAI, they can invest. But normal companies, nobody does. So they do the fine tuning on top of the existing models like open source or like yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. Yeah. Mm. So you wanted to deploy your own model over there? Is it what you're trying to say? Or you wanted to use the foundation models? Yeah, that is support. Yeah, so GPT-4, if you are paid to the OpenAI, so I will tell personally, I have the impression on the OpenAI. Suppose if you are using the OpenAI GPT from the OpenAI website, so they do have the rate limiting, so they can't be scaled. So personally, we face it. So in our company also, we try to build that, and we always running into a lot of issues. If you are having a very good business, better to go with the Azure OpenAI. Azure also providing the OpenAI models because almost they're running in their own machines and they can scale it depending on your requirement. So better to use OpenAI ChatGPT from the Azure instead of from the OpenAI. Mm. Oh, definitely, right? Suppose if you are doing the fine tuning, so that's what I'm going to cover into the next one. So far we have been talking about the foundational model. The foundational models is nothing but the person who already trained on the large corpus and the release like OpenAI and Gemini and Llama. So I will show a few of the open source models. So we do have thousands of the models. Even the DeepSeek is open source, right? You can even download the DeepSeek model and run it on your own machine. So Meta has launched Llama 3, Llama 2, Llama 3.1, Llama 3.3, and Quen and the Mistral. There are hundreds or thousands of open source models are there. If the security is concerned, you don't want it to release your data to the OpenAI people, then take one of this model and deploy it on your own server. That was one option. And if you trust them, and is it okay, it's okay to release the data, and then you can go ahead and with the OpenAI or Gemini vendors and all. Because technically, we don't know how they will going to use this data. So though they're telling like we can't be used and all, if you take the pro subscription and all, but how reliability is, and if some data leakage happened, like Samsung case few years back happened, right? So then it's all gone. Company's reputation and all will be gone. So some of the vendors, big tech companies, they will ask you, don't use ChatGPT, don't use Gemini, use whatever it is. Yeah, sorry. Mm, 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 mm. Right. Yeah, so that I'll be covering. Just wait for a few minutes. I'll be covering that. Yeah. Mm. See, that is the agent is not what you're thinking of. Like agent can be using OpenAI, right? Agent is not something like which is only interact with the database or something. Agent can be using OpenAI or agent can be using Gemini. So agent architecture is not that. So agent is kind of a tool. So where you are using the capabilities of LLMs to solve some problem. Instead of doing the prompt engineering and routing the questions and all, that will take care of that. Agent is not the something which you will only communicate without the LLM. LLMs will be there everywhere. Uh, which foundation model you using to build that? That matters. Yeah. Yeah. So can you guys go on mute? We were not talking, right? Yeah, please speak. Yeah. Mhm. So keep the agent what I said. Keep the agent what I said. Just we'll talk about the fine tuning of the model. You're talking about fine tuning of the model. Okay, nothing to do with the agents. Okay. So fine tuning of the model. Suppose you take any foundation model like open source one, you train on top of your enterprise data. That is one possible. The second is RAG. Two options only there. Either you want to do the fine tuning or you want to do the RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So RAG will involve. So RAG will involve. You don't need to do any computation. See when to use what. So generally, if you're having the data, very huge data, and you have the resources and money, and the data is not going to be changed frequently, then go with the fine tuning. If your data is changing frequently, fine tuning doesn't make sense. Training doesn't make sense. You have to use a RAG. RAG interacting with the database, RAG interacting with the PDF, RAG interacting with the CSV files. Okay. So RAG internal again it will have with the foundation models definitely it will have. So if you're going with the fine tuning, you have to make sure that data is not changing at all. No, why will it be available to the public? Suppose if you're training or you're so if you're training on top of the fine tuning on top of the OpenAI model, right? Yeah, that will be generally it will be with the OpenAI servers. Only will be accessible given to you. They can access, but not other people. And if they can, if they wanted to, they can. So that's the difference, right? Yeah, maybe if we don't know, see, even Meta did a lot of training on parrot data. How can we prove that? Very impossible to prove it because there is speculations and there's the controversial scenarios and uh, we can't say that at this moment. Yeah, so technically, if you wanted to do it, better to take any. If you're doing to fine tuning, you take one open source good nowadays, very good open source models are there, right? On top of that, you try to build your own fine tuning so that it will be only proprietary to you. You can deploy it in your own machine, and it comes with challenges like scaling and all that will be definitely there. And you see, how to choose is very tricky question. Why? Because if your user base is how much, if you're working for a company where the user base is like in the millions, okay, that makes sense. But if it is in the few thousands, it will be lost for your company if you use the fine tuning model or deploy it on your own machine. Why? Because they are able to serverless models. Like recently, few companies like Replicate, they're having serverless, where you can even run your own models over there. You can deploy their chooses, and Together is there, and NVIDIA Nemo is there. So there are a lot of vendors who are there. What they're trying to do, they will give you the hardware for cheaper price. The reason is it is serverless. They will only charge you based on the tokens, the number of input words and output words. But in case of the Azure and all, they do have the serverless recently. But if you choose the machine, generally you have to pay per hour, right? If you choose the 800 machine, A100 8 GB into 2, then you have to pay $30 per hour. A140 GB, $3 to $4 per hour. So if the user base is huge and if you wanted to scale it up, you may need to have 10 to 20 machines. And once you scale it, if the user base is very less, it really makes sense or not. So recently, some of the companies, right? So what they wanted to build a generative AI. We told the price. They stopped doing it. Why? Because the human labor is much more cheaper than the AI. Then why I will say even customer care people, few of them like they wanted to have the customer agents, with the calling agents. Okay, so then what they have done, customer care calling agents. You need to build that. So you need a lot of things like the speech models and text models and translation models and all. And after you train with your own models and the local languages, the cost will really shoot up, right? And they're paying hardly 15,000 per person in the call center. You're paying nearly 40,000 per one person. That doesn't even make sense. So it's all about money in the future, right? Until unless there is an SLMs comes into the picture, which are really efficient, then my cost may go down. But at this stage, like cost is like super high. If your user base is low and cost is very high, the companies don't even use that. Yeah. Coming. Yes. So very simple. Yeah. So what I will be teaching in this. So generally it will take around 2 to 2.5 months of time to teach. So first we start with the Python. So the next is the NLP basics. So this is the Python from the basics fundamentals to the file handling. And few of the pandas and the NumPy things also I'll be telling, but I didn't mention over here. Here's the NLP. So this is very brief, okay? So I didn't keep a lot of details inside of it. So we'll be dealing with the text processing. So like stemming, lexical processing, and syntactical processing, semantic processing. Okay, so we'll build the pivot taggers and all. So which are really required to crack any job. And then we start with neural networks. Neural network will deal with the feed forward neural networks and recurrent neural networks. Recurrent neural networks are very popular earlier, so which are eventually turned into transformer-based models. So in the recurrent neural network, we'll deal with LSTMs and GRUs and sequence to sequence, which are part of sequence to sequence architectures. And we'll deal with the transformers. We'll explain and we'll go through the entire transformer paper and we'll derive the mathematics. So entire even the neural networks will do the mathematics and we understand technically what is happening inside. Most of the people who are directly learning from the YouTube may not be knowing it. Yeah, so this is all about transformers. So we'll dig deeper into this, try to build one. And then we'll go with the LLMs, large language models, where the foundation models like we'll use the OpenAI, Gemini, or Llama. What? The consultant and do the text reduction, text to management, text to uh, that is about now. So we'll try to. Yeah, okay. Maybe this is noise cancelling, but here a lot of noise over there. Fine. Thank you. So to build these large language models, to use this, we had to use the Langchain kind of a framework, so which is really comfortable to integrate your OpenAI models and Hugging Face, where we can download the encoders and even the foundational models, and we'll use them, and we use the vector databases to build the RAG kind of a solution. So at the end, so you will be able to understand the RAG and agents and interacting with the databases or search engines and PDFs, and then we do similarly with the based on the AI system and all. So we'll build two projects. But this is a very brief overview. I didn't go in detail and I didn't make a lot of details inside this. But it's like more of open. If I give too much detail, right? Everywhere, every month the content is getting changed. If I put something which is like obsolete already like 6 months ago, that doesn't make sense. So we'll be dealing with the latest technologies and latest the models and all. And we'll deploy. We will maybe fine tuning. I will be teaching you fine tuning on top of the GPT too, but not on top of this because if I try to do fine tuning, it will boost up my charges like anything. So depending on the persons who are going to join in the course, so on that I had to decide like whether I had to go with the fine tuning or not, because technically it doesn't make sense because provided nobody but does that. So most of the people are doing the RAG and different types of RAG things and making the tools or agents to interact with anything, right? So keeping some foundation models, you can do all of them, right? So you ask me any questions related to this particular syllabus or like what is your expectations? So this if you are a beginner and wanted to go to intermediate level, so this course is very suitable for you. If you're already in intermediate level and wanted to go to advanced level, there will be separate course. Super advanced level, like even in more depth, like how currently running market. So if you go into the lot of technology stuff, right? So a lot of experiments have been happening. Each experiment cost me a lot of money. You can't believe the deployment of the thing. So I wanted to try to, I was using the Triton server, took the Hugging Face models and generate your own weights and convert them. It just that experiment cost me nearly 4 lakhs. So those kind of things I can't teach in this. Why? Because that requires the professional membership, and if you join in that, so different kind of a course. Maybe if I put it in the next, that would be suitable for you. So, if you are a beginner and we wanted to go to the intermediate level till the RAG systems and currently what is happening, so this course is good for you. So, any other questions? We're almost done with 1 hour. Yeah, that's what do you mean by beginner level? Not required. None, yeah, so let me be. So here I'm starting with the Python fundamentals. So is there anything basic than this? What will be, yeah. And then somebody asks the question, what if we are not even beginners? I didn't understand that question. Just give a thumbs up. Just a second. Just a second. Just give a thumbs up who are very beginners. Just I would like to know like the type of audience. So just put yeah. Mm, mm, mm. Right. Right. So I understand that. Yeah. So mm, right. 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 Yeah. I understand that. So this is a beginner friendly course. That's the reason I told beginner to intermediate. You're not even a beginner means you're starting the course. You're just a beginner. Beginner is the definition is that, right? You don't know anything. Yes, yes, Durga. No, there is no see intermediate to pro. That is different. That course is different. After this course, you meant to say. See, that depends on the people who are joining, right? This course also, if you inform me, like maybe I don't know when to start. We need a minimum number of students to continue the batch. Okay, currently already one generative AI batch is completed, three machine learning batches are completed right now. So depending on the students only, I can consider. Right? Suppose if you ask me, if I promise you to, I will take advanced. If the students are two, three, I will definitely not take, right? So if you personally, if you want the one-on-one, you can book me for that advanced level. So that also require for me to explore a lot of. That will be like too much expensive. The reason is why? Because if I take advanced course, people can't afford at first place because that involves itself so too much of experimentation. I told you, the simple one server did thing, it costed me 3 to 4 lakhs. Then how much I had to put the price? People generally don't prefer to use directly industry level expertise, like industry level what is happening right now. To explain that will be super expensive as I am. That can be different way we can handle it, not as a course. So suppose if you're working in the sector and if you want something, you got some bug or you got stuck, what technology stuck you wanted to use and what is happening the next level that comes into the different level. See, because all people doesn't require that. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So if the students are more and if you continue, I can look on to that. So because even for me, it requires to make it organized and structured format. I will take some time.